Well, I want to take this opportunity to talk to you about the future of our family of churches as Relational Mission. In 2011, as you'll probably recall, Terry Virgo handed over the leadership of Newfrontiers from just the one family of churches that it was. It had gone right around the world, many, many churches, and he entrusted it into the hands of emerging apostles so that they too could have their own families of churches, still part of the great big global Newfrontiers family, but each family of churches then forming its own identity, its own name, gathering its own team. So myself and others then working with me, we formed Relational Mission, and it's become over the last 10 years the family of churches that we now know and love, and have seen what God has been doing wonderfully amongst us as churches through that 10-year period. And I just want to encourage you that every single one of us that's part of any of the churches within Relational Mission, or who's pioneering on church planting, or engaged in any of the things that we really believe passionately about as our way of life, I just want to encourage you that it all really matters for the bigger purposes of God in the globe. And whether you're discipling someone, or sharing your faith, or serving the community, or leading worship, or preaching, or whether you're being salt and light in the workplace with what you do, living out your Christian life in a way that brings glory and honour to the Lord, whatever we're all doing, and we've all got different things, whether you're raising a family, whether you're retired and looking for ways to serve God in that season of your life, everything every one of us does in obedience to the Lord and in response to the Great Commission that He's given us to go into all the world and make disciples, every single contribution we all make really does matter. I want to encourage you that what we do as a family together makes the impact. It's not about one or two gifted individuals, it's about us as a family, and God's church is a family, and families grow, families develop, families expand and mature and grow and develop in all sorts of different ways. Right through, I suppose, my Christian life, the things that have been really touching my heart about things that I felt God had particularly laid on my heart was, firstly, my old friend, the globe. I love this globe, and I've had it since I was a young boy, and I really do believe, as I just spin this round and look at it, I really do believe that God has said to us that in some way we will play a part in global matters, that we will have global impact to some degree as a family of churches. I don't believe that's a false sort of hope. I think there's something about us having the world in our hearts. We build locally, but we think globally. And that's been really important to me all my Christian life, that we should carry the nations in our hearts. And also, the thing that matters to me is about the church not being robbed of her inheritance, but having everything that we are in Christ real and precious and lived out amongst us. And so as we began our journey as Relational Mission, we started to put together a vision statement and began to put together some wording and some things that helped us know where we were going. And I'd encourage you, I mean, just whether it's on a phone or an iPad or whatever it is, I would encourage you to look at the Relational Mission website, relationalmission.org, and you can see the vision there. You can catch up with information. And before I get into that, a quote that really has always inspired me by John Haggai, where it says this. He says, "Attempt something so impossible that unless God is in it, it's doomed to failure." I love that. I love the thought that we can sort of have a vision that's so ridiculous, that unless God's in it, it's just doomed to failure. And I think that's kind of the heart of what we have. And we've put our sort of heading as a family of churches, together we preach Christ and plant and strengthen churches to the ends of the earth. And that really matters to us, that we do that. And we've tried to put some sort of numbers on that. So we've got our establishing 5 multiplying churches in each continent of the world by 2030. That's Global 530. Help us remember that, Global 530. Then we've got stimulating a fresh wave of church planting into UK cities, towns and villages, 100 by 2040. 140. So you've got 530, 140. And then the really big one, planting 20 churches in each of the other 50 European nations by 2050. That's 2050. So you've got 530, 140, 2050. And we've put those things in a sort of catchy, memorable, strapline ways, not to try and just be clever with words, but to just try and help us crystallize some of the things that God's put on our hearts. Now, we're not saying God has said to the number, that's exactly what we should expect, and if we don't reach it, we've failed. But we're saying, imagine what that would look like if we set our sights, if we set our gaze on the horizon, thinking that's what the horizon could look like for us. And we then started to go in that direction. Imagine if God did more amongst us in 20 years than we might expect him to do in 50, which is another prophetic word that we've had over the years. So we're not saying that every single one of those numbers is going to be fulfilled. We're saying, let's go for this. Let's attempt something so impossible that unless God's in it, it's doomed to failure. So with that in mind, we're always thinking, what is the right way in the coming season to position ourselves as a family of churches to make it most possible that will happen? Now, we've been going for 10 years and serving the family of churches. We've had a team, we've had a central organisational structure that's been running our events and our communications, and us as a team helping us as an apostolic team and other Ephesians 4 gifts to serve the churches, and that's been a tremendous help to us. And we've seen much blessing. We've seen some tremendous high points of events we've had. We've seen some wonderful encouragements with church plants, with serving the poor, with many things that we've seen happen. Such gifting amongst the churches, and we've been so encouraged. Much fruitfulness has come from that. But back in 2018, we were beginning to feel, or I was beginning to recognise that Maurice, Nightingale and Stef Liston were emerging in their own right as apostolic ministries. They've been very much working with me alongside others in the team since we began, but they were emerging quite clearly with their own apostolic calling. And helpfully around that time, as if to sort of add weight to what we were beginning to think, Steve Oliver, who leads another of the Newfrontiers spheres, Regions Beyond, he brought me a prophetic word. I mean, he doesn't know much about what was going on in RM, but he brought me a prophetic word saying that he'd seen a picture of a monohull yacht, a sort of an Atlantic sailing monohull yacht, and representing the one hull of, I suppose, my apostolic ministry that Relational Mission had begun with, and that it was, sailing as it should do. But the picture changed to become a trimaran. Now, a trimaran, for those of you who don't know much about sailing, I don't, but I looked it up. A trimaran is a 3-hulled boat, a yacht, that's held together with one structure, but it's got 3 hulls. And he said that God was going to restructure Relational Mission into a trimaran from a monohull. And we didn't quite know what that would look like, but we felt it was God. And so we are now right in the middle of a process. I think the pandemic, COVID-19, has made us sort of perhaps want to give attention now to repositioning ourselves for the next 10 years ahead. And then, whatever God says after that or whatever, or maybe even before that is fine, but for the next season. And so what we're doing is we're reorganising ourselves away from one central organisation serving the families, and instead we're empowering each of us as apostles to begin to pursue the unique calling and gifting and contribution that each of us is making. Now, we all want to stay together. Any of us could legitimately as apostles say, well, I'm going to go and have my own family of churches or do whatever. That would be perfectly legitimate biblically. But each of us, Maurice, Stef and myself, we all say and genuinely mean we don't actually want to do this on our own. We want to keep doing it together. But it does mean that we will all be pursuing particular unique contributions into the whole vision. And so in order to help that happen, we will be creating new different teams around us to help us with that. We'll be also perhaps expanding into lots of different things. So lots of things will be going on all at once. And we're also, as well as multiplying us into and having our own base of support to help us with that administratively and in other ways, as well as that, we've also asked some of the guys amongst us who are emerging with real translocal ability to create what we've called relational mission communities, and we've got 7 of those at the moment, and those are led by Tom Scrivens, by Kev Riley, by Daniel Goodman, by Martin Segal, by Adam Vogt, by John Bearden, and by David Barham. So we've got 7 of these relational mission communities, and each of the churches within relational mission is finding which one of those communities they want to be part of, want to be working with. And what we've said to those guys is that we want them to do delegated apostolic tasks on our behalf. So much as Paul said to Titus, look, stay there in Crete, straighten out what was left unfinished. And Titus did a great job getting good foundations and actually galvanizing the church into mission. But it enabled Paul then to go on to fresh pioneering. And that's what we as apostles need to do. Apostles need to be breaking open new ground all of the time and leaving behind, entrusting different work that needs finishing and doing well into the hands of capable people. We've also got a whole team of what we call delegated ministries or servants of the churches, wonderfully experienced people like Angela Kem and Goff Hope and as many others I could mention. We've got about 40 or 50 people serving translocally across the churches in a whole variety of ways, serving in and out of the churches, not just a few, but lots across the whole family, and into other spheres and other networks beyond even Relational Mission or Newfrontiers. So we're very well served with a tremendous bunch of men and women who are serving the churches. So we're poised for multiplication. We really are. We are in a tremendous position now where we will be re-engineering the way that Relational Mission functions in its vehicle. The vehicle will change. It won't just be one organisation. We're going to build teams and bases and hubs of activity around each apostle. And we're also saying to the Relational Mission community leaders, look, you plant churches, create mission, get momentum going in your own areas with the churches you're working with. So there's this great explosion of activity and mission and vitality. It's a beautiful thing. We don't want to control or manage things so that it stifles growth. We want to entrust things to godly and gifted men and women who can then begin to contribute into the fruitfulness of the whole family. So that's just to give you a rough idea of where we're heading. It means that practically, instead of me leading Relational Mission, there's now 3 of us leading Relational Mission as a cohort of apostles, a team of apostles. So Stef, Liston, Maurice, Nightingale and myself are now leading Relational Mission together. Now, we will be, as you can imagine, there's lots of change. Such a big change requires lots of process, lots of things to be worked through, and we're also in the middle of a pandemic which has really changed the way we work considerably in this season, but it hasn't changed the calling and the vision that we believe God has given to us. And so I wanted to do this video to bring you up to date with that. You'll be hearing more about what it actually means. You'll be hearing lots and lots of news over time of different nations being touched and plants happening and strengthening of churches in particular places and initiatives taking place. All of that I trust you'll hear and be encouraged by. So please look at the website, follow Relational Mission on Twitter and on Facebook or on Instagram, because it really helps us keep up to date with you. You can sign up also for the Relational Mission updates And we really do hope in the next season we're going to really do well with our communications, just to make sure that with so much happening, everybody knows about it as much as we can. So this is to hopefully give you some fresh vision for what we are as a family of churches, give you an idea of where we're going, and to say thank you so much for your partnership in the gospel with this. Thank you so much for all the money that is given to really empower apostolic mission. Money is essential in order for all the things that we want to see happen, and you've just an amazingly generous family, and we want to really be good stewards of everything that you entrust into our hands for apostolic mission. So may the Lord bless us in this next phase, and I trust that this little video has just given you a little bit of an idea of what is happening as the next season unfolds for us as a family of churches. God bless you.